Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fallen London. Today we're going to be having a look at June's exceptional story, Déjà Vu. But as always, at the start of a new exceptional story, I encourage you to play these yourself. There are spoilers ahead. Become an exceptional friend, support Failbetter. Not only do you get access to these stories, you get expanded actions, a bigger deck, and more outfit slots, and various other beneficial things. Without further ado, let's jump in. You flap and glide above the whispering river. Others descend with you, their cries sketching the banks and the trembling waters. Ahead, the bridge resonates with human noise and the clink of soft metal. You wake up. Someone is standing in a dark corner, watching you from beneath a hood. You blink and stare. The shadows resolve into a familiar lamp and wardrobe. It's not even 5 o'clock yet. Well, I can either go back to sleep, you've had stranger dreams than this, or I can get up. The early bird and all that. Well, nope, we're going back to sleep. Getting up at 5 o'clock should be illegal. Sleep returns easily, but the dream does not resume. Instead, you are left with an impression of wave-shaped tiles, narrow streets, haphazard angles, and above, the sun. A fellow raps at the door of your lodgings. It is early in the morning, but judging from his sartorial disarray, it might also be a late night. After an inadequate introduction, the weary debaucher gets to the point. Are you familiar with the Portinari Dance Hall? I have no idea, but we can confirm that we're a regular. That place with the ironwork, not far from Wolfstack. Yes, it has its charms. We can recall a brief visit. One time you... Was that the Portinari? Or we can denial knowledge. Why, was there a murder there? Let's denial knowledge. No. The weary debaucher looks over his shoulder. Not this week, at any rate. No, I'm the hall owner. I've come because I need someone to refresh the place. Is someone toying with this man? They're not exactly in the painting and decorating business. No, I have a team ready, he says. It's just, everything I've tried has ultimately failed, and I've been persuaded to source some new ideas. I asked around Vale Garden, and your name was mentioned by several people as an authority on style. One used the term powerhouse. I've never heard that word before, but it sounds like something I need. You stifle a yawn. I know, he says. I'm sorry to call at such a late hour. Please, if it sounds like something of interest, come and see me at the hall before opening hours, he sags. Or during opening hours, it won't look much different. He raises his hat and staggers off. I am definitely a powerhouse of style. Oh yes. Right, so where do we go for that? It's down here. Déjà Vu. The Portinari Dance Hall. The Portinari describes itself as being on the edge of Vale Garden. Were you to conduct a survey, you might discover it was technically part of Spite, or even Wolfstack. It is a large piece of real estate, in any case. Well, let's take a tour. The weary debaucher meets you at the door. He is still wearing a sleeping cap. Thank you for coming. What time is it? Never mind. Please come inside. He gathers discarded glasses as you walk through the lobby. At the end, a pair of doors fill a semicircular arch. You step into the main dance hall. 2 words seem to describe the Portinari. Potential and, less charitably, faded. The space is wide and inviting, its lines drawn in black ironwork. There is a wide stage and 2 bars, but the boards are scuffed and the amenities shabby. The debaucher gestures upwards. The building is pre-lapsarian. Its original glass roof must have been breathtaking on summer evenings. Apparently every single pane broke during the fall. No dancing in bare feet then. When I took it over, I began to reconstruct the glass, one section at a time, with subtle tinting. Perhaps a shrewd businessman would have found a cheaper option, but I was, I suppose, in love with the place. You look for the tinting he describes. You can't quite make it out until your gaze falls on the silhouetted spires of the bazaar. The gleam around them is tinged with terracotta and cerulean. The weary debaucher pulls his robe around him and stares into the distant corners of the dance hall. He seems a little lost. Let's discuss my remuneration. You haven't said you'll take the job, but if you did, how much would it pay? The debaucher exhales. What do you want? Echoes? The hall makes lots of money for brief periods. You'll see you're part of that. Everybody gets their cut, whether it be the masters, the sommeliers, or those wolf-stacked thugs. The fashions change, and I'm left with the bills. You'll be in charge. Of course, you'll be compensated. To an extent, you can select your own reward. This seems like a positive attitude. Sleep on it, if you want. But do let me know soon. What time is it? The debaucher shows you back out to the gas-lit streets. Select your own reward, eh? Well, let's return to the Portinari. You return to the Portinari. The debaucher, clad in a dressing gown, sees you and visibly straightens up. He has a bottle of moral ways in one hand, and what you assume to be a glass of moral ways in the other. So, will you? Let's accept the offer. Free admission, free drink, a free hand to indulge your aesthetic sensibilities. Why not? Oh, I'm delighted. The debaucher puts down his glass to shake your hand. Please, have the run of the place. I don't want to interfere with your vision. Except the budget, of course. We're rather limited in that regard. Let me see, where did I put them? He pats his pockets of his gown, transferring the bottle from hand to hand. After a few attempts, he frowns, then swigs from the bottle. Ah, I remember. Hold this. Gives you the bottle and rummages behind the bar. He returns with 3 drawings. Choose one of these. Okay, so the budget is well balanced right now. When the public first peer through the doors of your new dance hall, their initial impressions will be crucial. The room must draw them in and fill them with awe. The weary debaucher passes you a fistful of sketches. My decorators have drawn up a few designs for your approval. We could begin with any of these within the week. So what options do we have? Create an indoor garden of replica foliage. Fake ivy around the ironwork. A canopy of artificial vines. No actual pot plant on the dance floor. We can invoke the ruins of ancient Rome, columns and arches, impressive facades. Maybe skip the sunken baths on this occasion. We can deploy excessive clockwork. The weary debaucher knows a clock shop that is going out of business. Or we can reject all of these as terrible ideas and send the decorators back to the drawing board. I'm kind of drawn to the replica foliage. Let's go with that. A new leaf. There's an artist in Spite who has never cleared her bar tab here. She crafts imitation plants that are rather good. After a couple of drinks, you would never know they weren't the real thing. I mean, we could use the real thing, but water and dance floors don't mix. And all those leaves to sweep up. He scans the roof. Sounds a little vulgar, perhaps, but with the right lighting, you might be surprised how effective it is. Okay. I'm sorry if you felt constrained in regards to decor. You have a free hand in selecting the musicians, provided you can locate a suitable group. What music would complement the new interior, or distract from it? Your guests must have an opportunity to dance, so we can engage a brass band. Before the fall, the polka was a popular dance hall favourite. Its time has come again. We can specify a string quintet, timeless, versatile and refined. Their presence will add effortless class to the establishment. Or we can settle for the old Joanna. A piano is more common in the pub than a dance hall, but Mrs. Files, the queen of the ivories, knows how to get a room moving. I'm going to go with the string quintet. I like string instruments. I also like piano, but in this particular instance, let's go with strings. The weary debaucher rolls his tongue inside his cheek. Might be a little quiet once the drinkers get rowdy, but I see you're establishing a mood. Aiming for society footfall. Could work. Could very well work. Let's get a group with a bit of range. You can start out with all your romantic airs, and after tea they can come back with some foot-stamping provincial fiddle. Sounds fantastic. The weary debaucher gestures to the bar. Although we charge admission, the real money comes from thirsty customers. What drink do you think we should offer? You consider the thorny question of alcohol and its likely effects. We can opt for temperance. A fine cup of tea is all one needs for a good night out. Offer light alcoholic refreshment. A little tipple will get the shy ones dancing up. Or we can encourage customers to get drunk. The dance hall is where Londoners come to let off steam. I'm going to go with light alcoholic refreshment. A selection of wines will offer welcome refreshment, while providing additional income from the dance hall. By avoiding the harder stuff, you can limit the chances of guests becoming rowdy and intoxicated. The weary debaucher bows to your reasoned approach. I'm not sure how we would get by without alcohol sales, but you're probably right that spirits are responsible for most of the regrettable incidents we've seen here. We still have stocks taking up cellar space. I'll see what I can do about that. Together, you go over the choices for the renovation. I'm not entirely sure about this new direction, the debaucher says, but perhaps I've done this too many times. Do you think I should give it up? Don't answer that. He yawns. I must get back to bed. Now let's sign off on it. This may not work, but you're starting from a position of lowered expectations. The weary debaucher looks at his notes and takes a deep breath. Very well. I'll issue the instructions and let you know when we're ready. I'll expect you on opening night, of course, front of house. Your personal magnetism will be an important factor for our success. He burps. I beg your pardon. You leave the Portinari through its ornate doors. Despite your personal magnetism, do not stick to the ironwork. You'll see an opportunity card when it's ready to open. Well, let's hope that happens now. Déjà vu. An insider's invitation. The card drops through your letterbox. The lodgings. It has just enough gilding to ensure society patrons will read it, and a sparse enough design to keep costs down. Right, let's read it. You have a feeling you already know what it says. You are invited to the grand reopening of the rejuvenated Portinari Dance Hall on the fashionable edge of Vale Garden. Feel your spirits rise and your feet take flight in our airy and sophisticated space. Dance instruction available for the first hour and a half. Beginners or improvers welcome. Refreshments for sale until late. The weary debaucher has scrawled, fingers crossed, on your particular invitation. To attend, look for the story, The Grand Reopening of the Portinari Dance Hall. Let's go. The Portinari lobby bustles with London notables. There is Mrs. Plenty, and sinning Jenny, an F.F. Gerbrand, and the jovial contrarian. They queue first for the cloakroom, then drift toward the interior in good spirits. Perhaps it is a relief to put the business of London aside for a while. Let's greet the wary debaucher. His hair is combed and his jacket pressed. As you draw close, you realize he's also taken a bath. What a night! What a night! For once, he does not have a drink in his hand. Your conversation is punctuated by moments where he breaks off to welcome a minor dignitary or dazzling society dame. When the flow through the doors eases, he draws you aside and whispers, "So far it's going well, and thank you for all your help. I would love if you could just circulate." He draws a horizontal circle with one finger. "Deploy your no doubt considerable charm and watch for potential catastrophe. I'll check in with you later." He spies a noted Barbazine poet. "My friend, welcome to the new Portinari." Well, you contemplate the doors to the dance hall interior. The results of your refurbishment are on the other side. Well, I guess we'll go through. It cannot be postponed any longer. You push through the doors and confront the results of your decisions. The debaucher was correct about the benefits of proper lighting. You know the foliage is artificial, but to an uncritical eye, the dance hall is now a romantic, lush interior garden, perhaps European. From the movements of the dancers, you can almost feel the cool touch of an evening breeze on your face. You eavesdrop as you pass through the crowd. You catch one snippet. "Fourth refurbishment I've seen here. Some new ideas this time." You drift through the main hall of the Portinari. There are enough visitors to make the hall look busy. You catch chatter and laughter as you pass by individual groups. Well, let's watch the dancing. Unlikely as it seems, the dance floor is full of enthusiastic couples and even a few trios. You stand against a pillar and watch the rarest of collective emotions underneath. Uncomplicated pleasure. Dancers swing around and strike poses. The trios do something semi-acrobatic that is surely rehearsed. For once, faces are happy, and nobody complains. Perhaps this is why the weary debaucher persists with his efforts. The string quintet is more lively than you might have expected. They seem able to judge the mood of the room, and at a perfect moment shift from a jig to something slow and intimate. Get a drink? The bar is doing brisk trade. Elbows jostle at the rail. Perspiring faces watch for their opportunity. The bartender recognizes you and quietly slips you a beverage between his other orders. Step aside and assess the situation, picking up some juicy gossip as you do. A light touch on the menu seems to have worked. An experimental, sparkling Greyfields is generating considerable interest, and the low alcoholic content provides a certain frisson without any unseemly scenes. Perhaps you should suggest this approach at the Medusa's head. I don't think that would go down very well. A pirouetting couple bump lightly against you. "Oh, sorry," they chorus and whirl off into the throng, giggling. Well, let's ask for a customer's opinion. The basics seem to be in order. Time to look a little deeper. Tonight is a glittering success. All of next week and the week after. This is what the weary debaucher has never been able to crack. What you need is someone who will give you an unfiltered, honest opinion. You walk the perimeter of the dance floor, looking for an opportunity. It would be rude to interrupt dancers just to solicit their opinion on the renovations, but one woman sits alone, watching. Let's approach the Stygian colorist. Everything she wears is as black as her midnight hair. Introduce yourself and politely request a few moments of her time to talk about the dance hall. She says nothing, but pushes out a chair with the toe of one elegant boot. The Stygian colorist gives you a look that reminds you of an incoming two-pronged fork. Let's ask about the renovations. Is the new decor to her taste? Frankly, no, she says. I like my plants still connected to the ground, but I understand you have to give the press something to write about. Okay, let me ask about herself. Her background will shade her opinions. She narrows one eye. I'm a painter, watercolours mostly. It's a perpetual torment. The colours of the Neath are so muted that one can't find untinted light to paint by. The colourist checks nobody else is nearby and drops her voice. On my birthday I buy a box of sunlight at Meridian House. It provides just one moment with the true pigments of my work. Interesting. What are you looking for at the Portinari? An unaccompanied, striking woman. She must have had offers to dance, but she's not dancing. So why come to the dance hall? An interesting question. Inspiration, you might think, but it's more in the nature of not giving up on this underworld. I've been feeling about London the same way I've been feeling about my watercolours, like I should move on. I suppose I hope to meet... Our conversation is interrupted by a scuffle on the other side of the dance floor. A group you recognise as Wolfstack ne'er-do-wells has barged through the front door and is harassing the hall patrons. You excuse yourself to attend to the situation. Your unwelcome visitors are Dockland thugs. You've heard of this happening. Bored of their usual haunts, they seek out excitement and well-heeled prey. Unless you send them home bruised and embarrassed, they'll come back and interrupt refreshment sales once again. So we can either contain the attackers, or to push them back towards the door. Your watchful quality gives you a 100% chance of success. You can break some heads. It's possible to overthink this situation. Or we can tangle an attacker in the decorative vines. They're cheap but strong, in that way that rope painted green sometimes is. I'm gonna break some heads. Wolfstack thugs only understand one language. Well, actually, many of them are adept in subtleties of Zayla's cant, specialised language relating to ships, operations, navigation, and seafaring legend. But mostly they understand the language of violence. Reflecting on this, you punch one of the invaders in the head. Mayhem has broken out on the dance floor. Patrons run in opposite directions, some fleeing the violence, some diving into it head first. So we can either mobilise additional dancers. They came here for excitement and exercise, didn't they? Here's their chance. We can use a viola as a makeshift club. Amateurs would snatch a violin and aim for the face, but the additional size and weight makes the viola an improvised weapon for real fighters. Or we can make surprise attacks. These villains came for the thrill of a toe-to-toe battle. Is it exciting to have your kidneys punched from behind? Let's mobilise the additional dancers. To arms! You show a surgeon how to perform an elbow strike without risking her hands. You encourage a gentleman with a forehead like an anvil to deploy it to stunning effect. Finally, you take a debutante who loves to twirl and demonstrate how that can serve as both deflection and counter-strike. 60 seconds later, all three are in pitched combat with grins plastered on their faces. They wouldn't get this experience at the Imperial Opera House. Oh no, they're back again. Let's try containing the attackers this time. Let's push them back towards the door. Get out of here. The main thing is to protect paying customers, or this hall could be on its way to another relaunch. You shift from thug to thug, deterring them with a rain of blows or shoving them back towards the entrance. A few of the younger patrons follow your lead, grabbing and pushing. Only token progress is made, but you do learn some new, linguistically innovative curse words. Can I have some of those? I'd like to know them. For research purposes. Let's make some surprise attacks. Into the kidneys. You use the crowd as cover to get behind the ringleaders. Shattering their spine would not improve the hall's reputation, so you restrict yourself to strikes on fleshy, painful areas. An irritated city official notices what you're doing and begins to distract the attackers by complaining. "See here, we're trying to do the mazurka." Punch. "Do you have a permit for that boat hook?" Punch. This is fantastic. Should we try angling an attacker in decorative vines? Let's try it. We might fail. We were unlucky. You seize a hanging vine and swing around the back of your assailant. At least, you try to. The vine is attached closer to the ground than you expected, and it arrests your movement. Then, a section of the jungle drops from above to coil around your feet. Seeing this opportunity, the docker punches you in the nose. The dockers scramble towards the door. 3 of them have formed an arms-around, shoulders line to facilitate standing upright. A black-bearded salt drags an unconscious bruiser away by the ankle. Let's see to the injured patrons. We could chase them off. A few departing kicks should discourage them from seeking revenge, or we could see to the injured patrons. A little personal attention here might mitigate any lingering distress. Let's see to the patrons. You walk among your customers, checking on their welfare, and dispensing free refreshment where it seems prudent. Some are still shaken, but others are flushed and grinning. A retired brigadier shakes your hand. "All kinds of entertainment at this place, eh? Capital." You spot a little red jewel on the floor. Doesn't seem to belong to anyone in particular, and it could defray the cost of those free drinks. As you scoop it up, you notice a young man still lying on the floor. You head over to him. The young man sprawls between couples on the floor. He seems quite stunned by the outbreak of violence. Well, let's help the diffident dramatist to his feet. This will be a hazardous spot once the next dance starts. "Thank you," he says. "I'm not hurt, just, startled. I was about to ask, she's gone. Are you, looking for a dance partner?" The diffident dramatist dusts himself down. "You're very kind," he says. "I saw you out there fighting." Let's ask about the music. He was out there on the dance floor. Was the music all right for him? "Oh, rather," he says. "I courted a cellist once. You can't imagine what she could do with that bow once she got going. And putting a string group on a dance stage? Well, something a little different, what?" Let's ask about himself. He strikes you as a bohemian sort. "Oh, I write a few plays," he says. "Everyone says that, don't they? But I actually do. Or at least I try to. The fellow seems to spend his whole time going hat in hand to prospective patrons, and heaven forbid I write anything with a political interpretation. Next thing you know, there's a squad of special constables in the back row." "What are you doing in the Portinari?" He has been dancing, but you sense something further, unspoken. The dramatist stops looking around and focuses on you. Something seems to drop away. "Deceptive question," he says. "If you must know, I've been a little blocked of late. Overthinking, you see. Asking myself whether I'm wasting my time. It doesn't help when you sit down at the blank page already imagining the reviews and their consequences. At the dance hall, you don't think. You just dance." The music strikes up again, and the dance floor bursts into life. You thank the dramatist for his comments. He has already spied a likely partner over your shoulder. Things are winding down at the Portinari. As the diehards spend their last reserves of energy on the dance floor, other patrons shift towards the cloakroom. Let's check in with the weary debaucher. He lingers in the gallery, yawning. You stand beside the debaucher and survey the last moments of the social sensation you have created together. The evening seems to be a success. The debaucher looks over and his mouth creases into a smile. Yes, I don't mean to downplay it, but opening night is often a success. The question is, how many of them will be here next week? Watching the cloakroom queue, reaches out and absently pats your hand. Thank you. You've been as good as your word. It's comforting to have a creative collaborator to share the burden. The debaucher leans against the rails as the last chord rings through the hall. You're a little older than you first thought. We can suggest some refinements. You've noticed a few details that could be improved for next week. What does this do? The debaucher listens, eyes heavier than usual. He nods. Oh, these are all good suggestions. Could I ask you to remind me of them during the week? I've been hosting all night and remembering all these names, not to mention who must be kept away from whom. It's quite exhausting. I fear I won't remember enough now to take advantage of your insight. Okay, well, let's get paid. There was some talk of selecting your own reward. Ah, yes, I'm sorry. It's not the kind of operation where we can just take coins out of the till. We remove the takings to a secure location in case of exactly what happened with the dog gang earlier, so I can't pay you right now. He glances at you. Don't worry, I'm not going to cheat you. That'd be very foolish of me, wouldn't it? You'll get your pay before we lose it all next week. He smiles. He is half joking. The hall seems very quiet. Peaceful, even. Well, let's go home. There seems nothing further to be done here. You linger until the final stragglers have been ejected and the doors bolted, and you leave by the staff entrance. The cool air is refreshing after the muggy enclosure of the Portinari, and the streets are quiet. You detour by the river to catch a breeze. The dark water seems more energetic than usual. In the distance, something flits between rooftops. A star-winged patch of shadow. You open the door of your lodgings quietly. It is the middle of the night, after all. But with us getting home, I think I'm going to end the first episode here. I think we're about to go and have another dream, and we'll experience that in the next episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe. Thank you again to the members of the channel and the coffee supporters. And as always, we'll see you next time.